Most parents never set out to raise a child who struggles with emotional closeness. The patterns that eventually shape avoidant attachment rarely come from cruelty or neglect. They emerge from genuinely good intentions. The desire to raise someone strong, resilient, capable, not overly sensitive to every little thing. And what almost never gets talked about is how small, repeated emotional missteps quietly teach a child that depending on other people is either unsafe or simply unnecessary. When a child discovers that comfort is unreliable, that emotions make the adults around them uncomfortable, that vulnerability is subtly unwelcome, they adapt. They stop asking, stop showing, stop expecting. And over time, that adaptation becomes woven into who they are. The child does not feel unloved. They feel self-sufficient. And that self-sufficiency gets praised, reinforced, and mistaken for emotional maturity. But underneath it lives a nervous system that learned to switch off its need for connection just to stay stable. The reason this happens is actually straightforward. Every time a child reached toward emotional contact, and that reach was dismissed, redirected, or met with discomfort, their nervous system began associating that impulse not with relief, but with rising tension. Vulnerability, the kind that requires needing another person, starts to feel dangerous. Because it might lead to rejection, dismissal, or the visible discomfort of a caregiver, which the child reads as a clear signal. I am too much. My needs are a burden. And so, the nervous system does what any intelligent system does when it encounters repeated failure. It adapts. It learns to regulate without leaning on others. It learns to suppress the signals that normally activate attachment behavior. It learns to shut down the very desire for closeness, because that desire now carries the weight of stress rather than the promise of comfort. This is not a conscious decision the child makes. It is an automatic adaptation of a developing nervous system doing everything it can to reduce threat and stay safe. And here is what makes this genuinely heartbreaking. Most parents have absolutely no idea this is happening. They love their child deeply. They provide food, shelter, education, opportunity. They believe they are building independence and strength. What they do not see is that their small, repeated responses to their child's emotional needs are teaching that child something devastating. That emotional self-sufficiency is not just admirable, it is required in order to keep the connection with the people who matter most. What makes all of this especially difficult to recognize is that avoidant attachment often looks like success from the outside. The child who learned to suppress their need for closeness becomes a teenager who does not cause problems. A young adult who seems to have everything together. A partner who is praised for being so independent. People admire how low maintenance they are, how composed, how self-contained. But beneath that surface of apparent wellness often lives someone who finds genuine intimacy deeply difficult. Who feels an unexplained emptiness despite all their achievements, who cannot truly let people in, who retreats from vulnerability, who feels most at ease when alone. They are not cold, they are not unfeeling, they are protecting themselves, using strategies they learned in childhood, when reaching out again and again taught them that not reaching was safer. Number 1. Emotional dismissal disguised as teaching resilience. When a child comes to you upset, maybe they scraped their knee, maybe another child said something cruel, maybe they are scared of something, and your first response is, "You are fine, it is not a big deal." You are teaching them something you did not intend to teach. You think you are helping them keep perspective. You believe you are building emotional toughness by showing them that what feels enormous is not worth the upset. But inside your child's developing brain, something very different and far more damaging is happening. Your child came to you with a feeling that was genuinely big and real for them in that moment. They were seeking co-regulation. They needed your calm presence so their activated nervous system could settle. Instead, they received a message. Your inner experience is wrong. What feels important to you is not actually important. And the person you need most, you, do not see or accept what they are going through. To understand what this feels like from the inside, imagine going to someone you trust, a close friend or partner, genuinely distressed. Something hard happened at work. An upsetting situation arose. You are carrying something heavy and you are looking for understanding, for support, just to be heard. And instead you hear, "You are fine. It is not a big deal. You are overreacting." How would that land? Would you feel closer to that person? Would you want to be vulnerable with them again? Or would you feel rejected, misunderstood, like your feelings are an inconvenience? That is precisely what a child experiences when their emotions are dismissed. They do not suddenly feel better or more resilient. They feel alone with feelings that are now also confusing. This feels enormous, but the person I trust is telling me it is not. So either something is wrong with reality, or something is wrong with me. So when your child brings you any emotion, regardless of whether you personally judge it as significant enough, resist the urge to dismiss it. Lead with acknowledgement. That really does hurt, does it not? Or, you are upset about what happened today. You are not agreeing that the situation is catastrophic. You are simply confirming that their feeling is real and that you see them. And only after that acknowledgement can you offer perspective if it is genuinely useful. Let us clean up that scrape and it will start feeling better soon. But acknowledgement always comes first. When you consistently dismiss emotions, especially with language that tells a child they should not feel what they are feeling, you are training them to distrust their own inner experience, to see feelings as problems to suppress rather than information to understand, and to associate vulnerability with you as something that results in rejection rather than closeness. Eventually, they stop coming. They learn to manage everything alone because sharing feelings with you became linked to feeling worse, not better. Number 2, solving the problem instead of sitting with the feeling. Your child is upset, maybe frustrated, sad, angry, or disappointed. Instead of simply being present with them in that feeling and helping them move through it, you immediately shift into fix-it mode. Here is what you need to do, or let us sort this out right now, or do not think about that, focus on something good. You offer distraction, logic, solutions, anything to make the uncomfortable feeling disappear as quickly as possible. From your perspective, you are being helpful. You are showing that problems have solutions. You are teaching them not to dwell. But what you are actually teaching is that feelings are problems to eliminate as fast as possible, not experiences to be felt, understood, and moved through. The message you are sending is, when an emotion shows up, the goal is to make it stop, not to actually go through it. So when your child is upset, resist the pull to immediately fix or redirect. Just be with them in the feeling. Get down to their level. Say something simple like, "You are really disappointed right now," or "That hurts, does it not?" And then be quiet. Do not rush to make things better. Let them sit in that feeling for a minute or two with your calm presence beside them. If they are open to it, offer physical closeness, a hand on the back, sitting next to them. You are not trying to stop the feeling, you are showing them that feelings are survivable, that they naturally move through and dissolve, and that you can stay present even when you are both a little uncomfortable. Once your child settles naturally and the intensity eases on its own, then, if it is relevant, you can offer perspective or help with solutions. But feelings always come before fixing. When you consistently interrupt emotional processing by jumping straight to solutions, you are teaching that emotions are obstacles to overcome rather than experiences to understand. And that becomes the foundation of avoidant patterns, where a person learns to completely bypass their feelings instead of actually living through them. Number 3, praising independence too early and too often. Your 3-year-old manages to get their shoes on alone, and you respond with enthusiasm. Look how independent you are. You did not need any help at all. Your 5-year-old takes a tumble and gets back up without crying, and you say, look at that, so strong and self-sufficient. Your child works through something without asking for help, and you highlight how wonderful it is that they managed without you. You believe you are building confidence. You think you are teaching them what they are capable of. But here is what often gets missed. Young children are not yet ready for the kind of independence you are celebrating. They still need to know that asking for help is completely normal, that leaning on other people is safe, that being vulnerable and seeking support is not a weakness. When you repeatedly emphasize and reward independence, especially using language that implies needing help is the opposite of the admirable thing you are trying to build, the child hears a clear message. The ideal state is needing no one, which means needing people must be somehow wrong. Imagine learning something new and genuinely difficult, and every single time you push through the hard parts on your own, you are praised specifically for not asking for help. So self-sufficient, you handled it without bothering anyone. The implication is unmistakable. Asking for help means bothering someone. Independence is the goal, and needing support is something to avoid. That is exactly what children hear when independence is praised excessively or too early. They begin to believe their worth depends on not needing others, that asking for help means letting someone down, failing to live up to the capable, self-sufficient image you clearly value. As they grow, this hardens into a core belief. Needing people equals weakness. Independence equals strength. Seeking emotional or practical support equals failure. And this is the bedrock of avoidant attachment. The belief that self-sufficiency is not just good, but necessary in order to remain worthy and to keep your approval. So when your child accomplishes something on their own, start by honoring the effort itself, rather than the independence. Instead of, you are so self-sufficient, try, you worked hard and figured it out. Instead of, you did not need any help, just say, you did it. And when a child asks for help with something they could technically manage alone, do not shame them for asking. Help them or guide them without commentary about how they should be handling it themselves. Raise a child who knows they are capable and also knows that asking for help when they need it is smart, not weak. The balance you are aiming for sounds like, you can handle hard things, and when you need support, I'm right here. Not, you are at your best when you need no one. Children raised with the belief that independence is always superior to interdependence often become adults who find intimate relationships genuinely painful, because they internalize the idea that needing others means failing at the very thing that made them valuable. Number 4, loving but emotionally unavailable. You love your child. You provide for them. You make sure they are fed, clothed, safe, educated. You are physically present in their life, but you are also under pressure, stretched thin, consumed by work or by the demands of life, perhaps managing your own emotional weight. So when your child approaches you with emotional needs, wanting to share something about their day, needing comfort, reaching for connection, you are physically there but emotionally somewhere else entirely. You are distracted, half present, responding with a vague acknowledgement without looking up from your phone, giving brief answers that close conversations rather than open them. You are not rejecting your child. You are not cold or unkind. You are simply not emotionally present in the moments when they are reaching for that connection. And what the child learns from this pattern is, love exists here, but not when I need it most. It is like having a close friend who is always busy precisely when you need to talk, but expects you to be available whenever they are ready. Eventually, you stop reaching out because the pattern has made one thing clear. When it matters, no one will be there. Why keep putting yourself in a position of reaching and being met with distraction? A child goes through the exact same learning process. They reach toward emotional contact, and they discover again and again that while you are physically present, you are emotionally elsewhere. Distracted, tired, pressured, or simply not engaged. And so they stop reaching. Not because the need vanished, it never does, but because they have understood that expressing that need does not lead to connection. It leads to the painful experience of reaching out and not being caught. The first step here is simpler than it sounds. You cannot be emotionally available around the clock, and expecting that of yourself is unrealistic. But you can create specific, protected time each day when you are fully, completely present with your child. Maybe it is 15 minutes right after school, sitting together without phones or distractions, simply available. Maybe it is the time before bed when you genuinely listen to how their day went, rather than rushing through the routine. The key ingredient is predictable availability. Your child needs to know when they can count on your full emotional presence. During that time, be entirely there. Set everything else aside, make eye contact, listen to understand rather than to respond. Show them through your attention that they matter, that their inner world matters to you, that being with them is something you genuinely want, not something you are squeezing between more important things. If your child reaches for you outside that time and you truly cannot be fully present, be honest about it. I really want to hear about this. Can we talk before bed tonight when I can actually listen? That is incomparably better than the half-present distraction that teaches a child their emotional needs are an inconvenience. Number 5, big emotions make the parent uncomfortable. When your child has big emotions, intense anger, deep sadness, sharp fear, or overwhelming excitement, you visibly lose your footing. You might change the subject, become irritated by the intensity, subtly pull back, or communicate through your body language and tone that this is too much. You are not saying anything explicitly critical. You are simply stepping away, creating distance, or showing tension as the emotions escalate. Your child, who is extraordinarily tuned in to your non-verbal signals, reads this response with perfect clarity. My big feelings make mum or dad uncomfortable. When I show intense emotions, I lose connection. My feelings cost me closeness with the person I need most. This puts your child in an impossible bind. They have real, large emotions because they are human, because they are young, because they are still learning to regulate themselves. But expressing those emotions pushes away the very person they need in order to work through them. When this is your pattern, the shift requires something internal first. Understand that your own comfort with your child's emotions is one of the most powerful gifts you can give them. If strong emotions genuinely unsettle you, that is work worth doing, perhaps in therapy, perhaps through honest self-reflection about why intensity affects you the way it does. When your child is in the middle of big feelings, practice staying physically and emotionally present rather than retreating. You do not need to fix the emotion or even fully understand it. You just need to not leave. Stay close. Keep your face soft and open rather than tight and closed off. Use a calm voice. You might say something like, "Those are really big feelings," I am right here with you while you go through this. If you need a moment to steady yourself first, take it. Breathe. Remind yourself that emotions are not dangerous. But do not abandon your child emotionally in their most intense moments. When you can stay and be genuinely accepting even through the stormiest moments, you teach them something foundational. All of them is welcome. Emotional intensity does not cost them connection. A relationship can hold the full range of what it means to be human. Number 6. Praise lives in achievement rather than in experience. When your child brings home a strong grade, wins something, accomplishes something visible, you light up. You are excited, proud, full of praise and engagement. But when your child is struggling, failing, moving through a hard stretch, or simply existing without any particular achievement to show, your engagement drops noticeably. You are not unkind, but the warmth and enthusiasm you pour into success is simply absent for ordinary moments or for difficulty. And the child absorbs a lesson they were never supposed to learn. Their value to you, the thing that makes you brighten and draw close, is their performance and their output, not who they are. They discover that when they win, achieve, and excel, they are worth celebrating. But when they simply exist, or worse, when they struggle or fail, they are not particularly interesting or valuable to you. This creates people who perform brilliantly and feel hollow inside, who achieve constantly but never feel like enough, who cannot allow themselves to rest or be vulnerable because their worth has been tied to what they do rather than who they are. Put simply, it is like a friendship where the other person is intensely engaged and enthusiastic when you have good news to share, but becomes distant and uninterested on ordinary days or when things are hard. Eventually, you would learn to bring only your wins, to show only the successful version of yourself, because that is what sustains the connection. Children do the same thing with imbalanced praise. They learn which version of themselves gets your full engagement, the achieving, succeeding version, and which does not, the struggling, vulnerable, ordinary version. And they develop a public self they show the world and a hidden self that holds all the fear and uncertainty and imperfection that does not seem to interest anyone. Of course, achievements deserve to be celebrated. That is genuinely wonderful. But balance it with equal warmth and engagement during difficulty, during ordinary moments, and during failure. When your child does poorly on a test, do not walk past it. Sit with them. Be curious about how they feel. Bring the same warm presence you would have brought if they had excelled. When they are simply being, no great accomplishment, no particular struggle, engage with genuine interest in their thoughts, their feelings, their inner world. Ask questions that show you care about who they are, not just what they produce. What made you laugh today? What have you been thinking about lately? How are you actually feeling? Show them that your love and interest are not conditional on results. This raises children who feel valuable as they are, who can be vulnerable and seek support during hard times, because they know their worth with you does not hinge on whether they always win. Number 7. Inconsistency in warmth. You show warmth to your child, sometimes, when you are in a good mood, when things are not too pressured, when they have been easy, you are warm, physically affectionate, emotionally accessible. But when you are stressed, exhausted, or when they have been difficult, that warmth disappears. You are not cruel, and you are not overtly rejecting them, just noticeably less warm. Your child never quite knows which version of you they will encounter, the warm, engaged one, or the distant, unavailable one. This inconsistency is deeply disorienting and produces a particular kind of anxiety. Your child cannot predict whether reaching for closeness will be met with warmth or distance. So they begin to protect themselves by not reaching at all. If connection can vanish without warning for reasons entirely outside their control, your mood, your stress levels, then maintaining emotional distance becomes the strategy for staying safe from the pain of reaching and finding no one there. Parents who love their children but are inconsistent in their availability and warmth often find, years later, that their children have become emotionally guarded. The parent thinks, "But I tell them I love them. We have good moments together," and cannot understand why their child seems withdrawn, or why, as an adult, they find intimacy so difficult. What they cannot see is that the inconsistency itself is the problem. Love that is sometimes present but unpredictably absent creates more anxiety than steady, moderate warmth ever would. The child cannot settle into secure attachment because they cannot predict when closeness might suddenly become unavailable. They protect themselves by keeping a certain distance. If I never get too close, it will not hurt as much when the distance appears again. This is the root of avoidant attachment. Holding people at arm's length because closeness feels unsafe, precisely because of its unpredictability. Start by noticing your own patterns honestly. Are you warm and engaged when things are going well, but noticeably closed off when you are under pressure, or when your child has been challenging? That is deeply human and understandable, but it is damaging to secure attachment. Work toward keeping your baseline warmth as consistent as possible, regardless of circumstances. Your child needs to know that your love and fundamental care do not disappear when things get hard. This does not mean you cannot have boundaries or that you need to perform intense affection around the clock. It means your baseline, the foundation of warmth, physical closeness, if that is part of your family's way, emotional accessibility, should be predictable and stable. If you are struggling and genuinely cannot be fully present, be transparent about it. "I'm having a hard day today, but I love you, and we will have time together later." That is immeasurably better than the confusing withdrawal that happens when warmth simply vanishes without explanation. Number 8. Modeling emotional self-sufficiency. Your child is watching how you handle your own emotions and needs. Do you share when things are hard? Do you ask for help when you need it? Do you allow yourself to be vulnerable? Or do you manage everything independently, never showing when you are struggling, never reaching for support, always appearing completely self-contained? If you model that strong, capable adults never need anyone, never talk about difficulty, never ask for help, your child learns that this is what admirable people look like. They absorb the idea that needing others is something childish to grow out of, that sharing emotions and being vulnerable is a form of weakness to be hidden. They copy what they see. And what they see is that the person they admire most seems to need absolutely nothing from anyone. Imagine learning a skill by watching someone who never consults a guide, never asks for help, never acknowledges when something goes wrong. You would conclude that real experts do everything perfectly and from memory. If you later struggled and needed guidance or support, you would feel like you were failing, rather than understanding that asking for help and learning from mistakes is entirely normal. That is exactly what happens when children watch parents who never model healthy vulnerability or interdependence. They learn that the goal is complete self-sufficiency, that needing support means you are not yet fully grown, that emotions are meant to be carried alone without burdening others. As they grow into adults, they live out this model, managing everything themselves, never asking for help, appearing fine while quietly struggling inside. This is avoidant attachment in motion, the deep belief that the correct way to exist is in total self-sufficiency, which inevitably means keeping other people at a careful distance. So while your child is watching, and they are always watching, let them see appropriate vulnerability and healthy interdependence. Let them hear you say to a partner or a friend, "Today has been really hard and I need some support."
Let them see you ask for help when you genuinely need it. When you are struggling or sad, let them know in a way that is appropriate for their age. "I'm feeling frustrated right now, but I'm going to take a few breaths and it will pass." Show them that feelings are normal, that asking for support is healthy, that even adults sometimes need other people. You are not burdening your child with your problems. You are teaching them that being human means having needs, and that strong people reach for support when they need it. This kind of modelling carries enormous weight. Children who watch their parents practice honest vulnerability and healthy interdependence internalize something invaluable. Needing others is normal, and asking for support is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Number 9. Understanding the cumulative effect. No single one of these patterns on its own, or in a single instance, creates avoidant attachment. A child does not become emotionally guarded because you once told them they were fine when they were upset, or because you were distracted during a particularly demanding week. Avoidant attachment forms through repeated, consistent patterns across years. It is the accumulation of hundreds and thousands of small interactions, each one quietly broadcasting the same message. Your emotions are inconvenient. Your needs are problems to be resolved quickly. Independence is always better than needing people. Emotional expression pushes connection away. You are valued for what you achieve, not for your vulnerability. Warmth is unpredictable, and the correct way to exist is in complete self-sufficiency. When a child receives these messages over and over throughout childhood, their nervous system adapts by learning to switch off the need for attachment. But there is no reason to despair. You can change course. Start with 1 or 2 patterns. Perhaps you commit to sitting with feelings before trying to fix them. Perhaps you work on staying present during big emotions rather than stepping away.
Perhaps you begin modelling healthy vulnerability in small, genuine ways. As your consistent patterns shift, your child's nervous system will gradually begin receiving different messages and can start building new pathways around attachment and need. It is never too late, not while your child is still with you. And even when children have grown, changes in how you show up and honest, healing conversations can genuinely help reshape the patterns that formed. For the young children who are still living alongside you, every single day holds the possibility of sending different messages about whether their needs and emotions are truly welcome.